The world watches Ukraine. While the bombs fall in Donetsk and diplomats argue over Crimea, another front is quietly opening to the south. One that could redraw borders, fracture alliances, and ignite the next major proxy war against Russia. In the oil-rich, strategically critical South Caucasus, the Republic of Azerbaijan is escalating tensions with Moscow. Arrests, expulsions, diplomatic warfare, and behind it all, the familiar shadow of NATO. This is not a simple story of allies and enemies. It's a tangled web of oil pipelines, ethnic conflicts, Western manipulation, and the legacy of empire. Azerbaijan may be small, but it sits on tectonic plates of global power, and as cracks widen, the pressure builds. This is the full story, geopolitical, economic, and ideological, of how Azerbaijan is becoming the next battleground in the long war against Russia. To understand this conflict, we must first understand the map. The South Caucasus is one of the most geopolitically sensitive corridors on Earth. It connects the Black Sea to the Caspian, Europe to Central Asia, and Russia to the Middle East. Azerbaijan is a keystone in this regional architecture, a launchpad, a buffer zone, and a gatekeeper all at once. Its capital, Baku, sits atop vast energy reserves that feed pipelines stretching westward, deliberately bypassing Russia to fuel Europe. The Baku-Tbilisi and Trans-Anatolian natural gas pipeline are lifelines for European energy security in the age of sanctions. But oil and gas aren't the only assets. The region is also a military chessboard. NATO has quietly built relations with Azerbaijan through joint exercises and intelligence cooperation, while Turkey acts as a proxy within a proxy, expanding its influence on NATO's behalf. For Russia, this is an encroachment. For the West, it's an opportunity. For Azerbaijan, it's leverage. Azerbaijan was once part of the Soviet Union, integrated into Moscow's command economy, intelligence network, and military structure. After the USSR collapsed in 1991, Baku embraced independence, but not entirely neutrality. The post-Soviet vacuum drew in new players. Western oil companies rushed in. Turkey courted cultural and linguistic ties. Israel and the US developed discrete military relationships. Meanwhile, Russia tried to maintain its grip through arms deals, media outlets like Sputnik, and the deployment of peacekeepers in Nagorno-Karabakh. The leadership of Ilham Aliyev, who has ruled since 2003, has perfected the art of multi-vector diplomacy, playing powers off one another for maximum benefit. But in recent years, the balance has shifted. Azerbaijan has clearly leaned westward, emboldened by victories and eager to break free of Russia's shadow. The conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh is the defining fault line between Azerbaijan and Russia. This mountainous majority Armenian enclave was the site of two wars in the 1990s and again in 2020. In both cases, it pitted Azerbaijan against Armenia and indirectly, Turkey and the West against Russia. In the 2020 war, Azerbaijan launched a surprise offensive. Backed by Turkish drones and Israeli intelligence, it decisively defeated Armenian forces. Russia's reaction? Peacekeeping mission that preserved Russian presence without punishing Azerbaijan. But that neutrality came at a cost. Armenia began to question its long-standing alliance with Moscow. Now, in a post-Ukraine world, Armenia has swung westward, and Russia is diplomatically isolated. Baku sees an opening. Yerevan feels betrayed, and Moscow is caught in a geopolitical trap of its own making. Nagorno-Karabakh may have calmed, but the embers still glow. In June 2025, a dramatic escalation shocked both diplomats and analysts. Azerbaijan arrested Adin Gasanov, head of Sputnik Azerbaijana, Russian state media outlet. His office was raided, journalists detained, and operations suspended. Russia protested. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova called it a political provocation. Moscow demanded consular access. Baku denied it. This was no misunderstanding. It was a direct challenge to Russian influence. By cracking down on Sputnik, Azerbaijan attacked one of Moscow's key instruments of soft power. And unlike previous disputes, this one played out publicly. Western media barely covered it. But for Russia, it was a declaration of independence from its cultural and informational reach. Azerbaijan was saying, "We don't need you anymore." What makes this dangerous is that no one wants to call it what it is: a proxy conflict. Modern proxy wars rely on plausible deniability economic support, intelligence sharing, and ideological warfare without formal alliances. Azerbaijan fits this model perfectly. It receives Israeli drones, NATO standard equipment, US political cover, and EU energy contracts. In return, it helps weaken two adversaries, Russia and Iran. There are no NATO flags in Baku, but the signals are clear. The West is cultivating Azerbaijan as an alternative partner in a region it can no longer control through Armenia or Georgia alone. Russia, meanwhile, is cornered. If it retaliates militarily, it risks opening a second front. If it stays silent, it loses credibility. Welcome to the Cold War Caucasus edition. None of this would be possible without oil and gas. Azerbaijan's economy is built on hydrocarbons. Over 90% of exports come from energy. This makes Baku vulnerable and powerful. Since the war in Ukraine, Europe has pivoted hard away from Russian gas. Azerbaijan's role as a supplier has surged. Brussels even signed new deals to double imports via the Southern Gas Corridor. This gives Azerbaijan leverage not just over Russia, but over the EU, and it makes Baku more valuable than ever to NATO strategists. BP, Chevron, and ExxonMobil have multi-billion-dollar stakes in Azerbaijan's oil fields. These corporations, along with Turkish, British, and Israeli investors, form the economic arm of the Proxy network. Azerbaijan may wave its own flag, but its gas flows west end, so do its allegiances. But the West's goals go beyond Russia. Iran is also in the crosshairs. Azerbaijan shares a long border with Iran, and relations have often been tense. Tehran accuses Baku of hosting Israeli intelligence, stirring ethnic unrest among its Azeri population, and militarizing the border region. In return, Azerbaijan accuses Iran of backing Armenia and undermining its sovereignty. The US and Israel have quietly encouraged this rift, seeing Azerbaijan as a northern platform for containing Iran. Iran has responded with military drills, cyber threats, and diplomatic warnings. If a full-blown confrontation between Iran and NATO ever occurs, Azerbaijan may play the same role Poland plays in Eastern Europe, a forward operating state in a proxy war. This triangle, Russia, Iran, Azerbaijanis, a powder keg. Azerbaijan has made its move. The arrest of journalists, the rejection of Moscow's influence, the deeper ties with NATO powers, the steady exclusion of both Iran and Russia from its political orbit. Moscow may retaliate, perhaps not with troops, but with cyber attacks, economic blackmail, or covert operations. It could shift support to internal Azerbaijani opposition, or pivot back toward Armenia to re-establish leverage in the Caucasus. The West for now will play innocent, but its fingerprints are everywhere in the weapons, the energy contracts, the diplomatic statements, and the silences. This is a slow-motion proxy war. The next moves are already in motion. The war in Ukraine showed us that borders are not fixed, alliances are not sacred, and proxy wars are not relics of the past. The Caucasus is the next theater in a larger conflict that spans continents and ideologies. Azerbaijan is playing a dangerous game with powerful friends and powerful enemies. For the West, it is a tool. For Russia, a threat. For Iran, a liability. For itself, perhaps a future battleground. And tell us in the comments, is Azerbaijan the next Ukraine, or something even more dangerous? And don't forget, like the video and subscribe the channel to keep thinking the world how it really is.